Hey, before we jump in, if you like what you hear on the podcast, check out our free Substack newsletter, The Sober Friends Dispatch. It's a weekly dose of real talk, stories from the sober life, and a little extra support between episodes. Go to soberfriendspod.substack.com and subscribe. That's soberfriendspod.substack.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome to the Sober Friends Podcast, where we talk a little bit about sobriety, your journey, sober curiosity, all of that good stuff. My name is Matt J. I'm joined as always by Steve. What's going on, Steve?
Good morning, Matt. Not much, just enjoying this beautiful, crisp fall weather we have up in Connecticut. And, it's living the dream.
Yeah, the only thing I'm not enjoying is the sun going down early.
Yeah,
I have to plan my dog walks earlier.
That'll change next week, and it'll go down even earlier.
I forgot.
You'll be
about
dog
that.
walking in the dark.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, next
Not
weekend.
enjoying that. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the chapter We Agnostics, because we read that in our Monday Night Big Book, and that thing has been kind of rubbing me raw every single time we get to it, and I'm developing a resentment. So I can go over a few points. I think I know what Bill's doing, and it's the thing of, I wish he didn't go this way, but this is the way Bill wrote the book. Now, before you start getting mad at me of, you're attacking the big book, I agree with his output of where he's trying to get to, of getting you to a higher power, however you believe a higher power. I got my own thoughts, and I'm thinking more and more that my higher power is doing the right thing for other people, of being of service to other people, whatever that looks like, of leaving somebody feeling better because I walked in than feeling worse. And I think there's a lot of stuff in there I really like, which is the contempt before investigation, which I use in my everyday life all the time. I think that is great. But what I don't like are a couple phrases that I start going through, and he talks a little bit about, God is like electricity. You can't see electricity, and they say that the pillars of steel have these electrons whirring around it. But much like God, you can't see it, but you trust it's there. All right, here's the problem with that argument. If I take a 9-volt battery and I put it on my tongue, I'm going to get a shock. I can prove that that's there. There is no VU meter for God. And I think he is putting a straw man argument up there. And I know why he's doing it is his whole why in the big book is, I've got to find a way to bring the drunk along to get him sober. And I'm going to do what I need to do to get him there. But that just feels ends justify the means.
Yeah. Bill had a really, the thing about Bill, and he's passed that down to AA in a good way, is we have what we call in AA a singleness of purpose, right?
Yes.
And nothing else, right? And what that means, if you're not part of the AA program, is that means nothing else really matters except when we go to a meeting and we're doing AA type work, nothing matters except achieving sobriety and helping another alcoholic achieve sobriety. Not politics, not religions, not sex, not sexual orientation, not anything, right? Not money. So that's our focus. And I think that helps me, because sometimes I get lost in the weeds, right, with that kind of stuff. Like I get lost in the personalities and the politics and stuff like that. But I have found that when I go to an AA meeting, I can put all of that aside and focus on that purpose of helping another alcoholic. So I think that's what Bill went into this with, right? When Bill wrote this big book, there was a couple things. And again, we don't ever want to, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but Bill thought it was a money-making deal, first of all. Like it was, right? He did. So it wasn't all this Bill's great thing, but he did think it was a money-making opportunity for himself. But he also had that singleness of purpose. I mean, Bill's heart was in the right place. He wrote
Absolutely.
this book to help other alcoholics. The other thing I think we have to understand is we sit in 2025 and we think, oh, we know what it was like in 1939 or 1937, 38, maybe when he was really writing this stuff. And just the scientific discovery is different now than it was then. So he used some things to explain that were sort of relevant. Electricity was in 1939. Not everybody had it.
Yep.
Right? I'm sure you went to lots of places in rural America that didn't have it. They were still dealing with, outhouses and not running. They were still dealing with that. So I know we think. Again, you and I who lives in the suburbs, we've grown up in this somewhat life. It's like we think that everybody shares this same life. It wasn't. So I think he was just trying to appeal to the broader sense. And you're right. He did have he was really looking at the end goal of like, how do I get these people sober? How do I get these people hooked? Not get them sober, because I think he knew he couldn't get them sober. How do I get them hooked? To start thinking about this. And I do believe that Bill would go to any means to do that, including a little bit of embellishment of facts and stories.
He embellished a lot of facts in the big book.
Yeah.
The whole story with Ebby Thatcher is not at all how it went down. He wasn't alone with Ebby. It took a little bit of time. There are things that he stretched out that, if you believe that the big book is a verbatim history, it's not. And I can point you to some literature that goes through the facts there. The Bill was a salesman. He was truncating a lot of stories. He was putting spin on them because he did have a singleness of purpose of, I care less about the actual history being accurate and more of, I'm going to tell a parable to get you to sobriety. And I think that's the thing that rubs me raw about some of this stuff is I see people in the rooms who take it as verbatim.
Oh, yeah.
Who go along and use these examples when I'm listening like, oh, this isn't true.
Yeah, what's helped me with that is, and again, I won't go down, but there's another book that people do that with too.
Yes.
And again, I've read a lot of books on that book too, and I understand it much better than I did before. And it's the same thing, right? People take it as verbatim, and they take it and then they use it to justify or negotiate a position that they want or that they already hold. And I think that happens in the big book, too. I will say this. I'm glad that we sit in separate places to record this because you just trashed the Ebby Thatcher sitting at the kitchen table story. And if lightning may come down through your house and just take you out. So I'm glad I'm not going to be there. I may witness it on the recording, but I'm glad I'm not there to... that's a story. Like, if you said that out loud, people would be like crazy. Right? I mean, if you just repeated out loud at a meeting, especially an old-timer meeting, that story may not be exactly as it's written in the big book, people would have a shit fit.
I want to fight you.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I can't even imagine.
You're a crumb creep.
But again, if you read some historical analysis of that time and how the book is written, you will see that there's some question about that story, okay? And that's it. There's some question about that story of exactly how it happened based upon other people's writings who were around at that time. So, yeah, I too think Bill embellished a lot. He was a writer. He wrote a book, right? He wrote a book is what he did. All books have some type of embellishment in them. I mean, unless you're talking explicitly a non-fictional historical book, and even those might have some. Even those, right? You have to sort of make some deductions based upon other people's writings and stuff like that. So yeah, Bill did what he needed to do, and just I think we're both of the same mindset now that we've done some other stuff and we do this podcast, which makes us think about our own sobriety and makes us think about AA, right, as a whole. And we're both out there on social media with other people getting sober in other manners. Even having all said that, like, I'm grateful that Bill did what he did because it's how I got sober, and it's what worked for me. And the fellowship that I've gained is just incredible. Like, it really is. The fellowship I've gained from AA is incredible. So I'm just going to tell you a little quick story, side stories. I came home for that Monday night meeting, right? And I'm a big Detroit Lions fan, and Detroit Lions were playing on Monday Night Football. It started at 7, and I got home, and my wife was up, and I walked in, and she's like, "Oh, you going to watch your game?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll go watch the second half." I'm like, "That's the second half is coming on. I'll watch the second half." And she's like, "Oh, I'm surprised you went out tonight." And I said to my wife, if I could stay sober by myself, I wouldn't go to meetings. And she was surprised. Like, I've been sober 15 years.
Yes.
And she was still surprised by that statement, right? And it just tells you, like, how some people are still surprised by it. It's what works for me. It's how I keep my shit together, right? By doing that kind of stuff. So I will always be grateful. And as much as there's some things about AA that I no longer like, I mean that, there's some things that I no longer like, I think overall it's there to help the next suffering alcoholic. And because of the life it's given me, I need to keep working with that. So I need to take Bill's parables, Bill's embellishments, and understand that. And same thing, like, if I could use those to help another alcoholic get over the hump and get sober, absolutely. I mean, I'll do the same thing. Listen, I was a salesman too, right? So, I mean, Bill was a salesman, and so was I. I spent my life, a 30-year career doing sales. So I know how to embellish a story. I know how to create urgency to try to get you to do a deal that maybe you're not ready to do. I know how to do all those things. And I can do those things with an alcoholic too. And if I thought that would be helpful to me, or not to me, if that would be helpful to the other alcoholic that I'm trying to help, then absolutely I would do the same thing. So, so as frustrating as it might be, I think we get frustrated because we read these stories over and over and over again.
Well, there's that too.
Right, and we get a little bored with it, and it starts irritating us because we're bored with it, and so you can walk home like you did Monday night and feel like, oh, I'm really pissed off about this, this thing. Because I had a different experience with that same reading, right? I had an experience where I really liked it Monday night. I really liked some of the things that it pointed out to me that night in that reading. So it's always good to continue to do that stuff and just to continue to check ourselves. Like, where are we? What are we doing? What's bothering me? What's not bothering me? And I think that's a perfect thing for you to do, to go home and go, this is bothering me. Let's talk about it, right? Which is what we do on this podcast. Let's bring it out there. Let's talk it through. Let's hash it out and see where it goes.
Yeah, I was also tired. This, I think what happened this weekend. I didn't exercise Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. And I think I had restless legs attack or something. I had something, or I didn't get a very good night's sleep. So that has a lot to do with it. But I got to tell you, when Joe and Charlie and him start talking about Columbus and the flat earth, I freaking get so pissed off.
Bullshit.
It is such bullshit.
Fucking bullshit.
They knew it was round at the time. That's not why Columbus went. He just had his calculations off, not figuring the real. He missed something in the middle there. And I hate it when Joe and Charlie say it there.
Yeah.
But I think let's be honest here. We have come to believe in a higher power of a greater of how we choose. Bill believed in Jesus Christ.
Yep.
And he wanted everybody to believe in Jesus Christ. And there are other people who are a little more religious and a lot less religious. And he was kind of in a middle ground. And we have gotten to a better place where you can find the God of your own understanding. That has evolved. And I think I would explain this chapter a little bit differently. And because I am very jealous of people who have very strong faith. And there are people in that room who have deep, strong faith, and it works really well for them in a positive way. And I'm not that person. I think that you can get there telling other stories, and I think you can even say, look, there is no explanation for a higher power, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You come to it yourself as long as you believe you're not it.
Right.
Because to me, the God chapters and the God stuff is about getting away from self and about serving other people. What would your higher power want? He would want you not to do things that are just right for you, but to serve other people in the service of getting them sober.
Yeah. Two things on that. First of all, my Friday night meeting, the men's meeting, the topic was gratitude. And we talk about that all the time. It's another one of those subjects, like reading the big book over and over that you get tired of talking about it sometimes. But on this night, something hit me. And one of the things that hit me is like, I'm extremely grateful for the program of AA and for the things that it allowed. Like I had there's more than three. I had three of our grandchildren, my son's three boys, over yesterday. And it was a wonderful, exhausting day. And my son, and I spend a lot of time with the kids when they're here. And my son texted me later, like, hey, you really wiped these kids out. They slept all the way home, and they transferred right to bed asleep, which they never do. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that, right? Because that's not there for me if I'm drinking.
Right.
That simple thing. Like, that's not available to me if I'm drinking. So I'm extremely grateful in those. But here's the point, that something you just said, is that in order for me to really become grateful and find out what's important to me, I had to get rid of that selfishness and self-centeredness, right? Which is what you just mentioned. I had to get rid of that, because until I got rid of that, I could only be grateful for things that directly impacted me and got me what I wanted, right? Like, that's how my gratitude changed. The second thing you said was, about, people coming in and Bill moving. I go to a noon meeting on Wednesday, and I love this meeting. It's something I came into because I needed a meeting about a year and a half ago, and I went to this one, and I stayed. But there's a bunch of women there, and there's a bunch of people who identify as agnostics, which I also like because that's where I was, and I don't hear a lot of that. I don't hear a lot of that in meetings, and to find like 3 or 4 people in one meeting who are openly talk about that was comforting to me. But this one woman talks about what you just said, is like, there are people out there, and she says, there are people out there who have this strong faith. And she says, I searched for that faith, but I never found it. And I wish I did. Like, she goes, I wish I had that. I wish I had found that, but I didn't. And when this woman talks, it just makes so much sense to me. It's like, sometimes I feel bad. I should have that too, right? And she just makes it so that I look at these people, and there's a lot of people in our meetings, like, Monday night meetings, who have a lot of faith. And for the most part, a lot of it is the Christian-based faith. And it works really, really well for them. It works really, really well for them. And you could see that their life has been changed partly because of that faith. So therefore, I'm extremely happy for them. And sometimes I wish I had that too. Like, I wish I could give up all my troubles to a higher power and think, oh, I don't have to, in the end, it's all going to work out. But I don't feel that way. So, that's the nice thing. And you're right, Bill came to a place where he was fairly religious, but not like we see a lot of people today, right? He certainly believed in a Christian God. But Bill doesn't talk about, in any of his writings that I know of, about going to church on a regular basis, right? He doesn't talk a lot about that kind of stuff. I haven't read a lot of the Lois writings. I don't know what her faith looked like. But he still had that faith. And for him, it worked. He found it, right? And that's what his point was. He found his faith that worked. And he was just telling everybody else is, you need to find yours too. And as much as I struggle with the higher power thing, because still, even though I know it's not true, when I say that, I still think of the God of my, my youth. Like I still have trouble with that at times. I understand that that's what we need to do. We need to I always say, I have to get out of my own way in order to get myself better.
I think of the Catholicism of my youth myself quite a bit, and it felt like you were looking for a magic spell. That's how it felt to me praying, and I'm not at that place anymore. The thing that's kind of helped me with God jealousy from these people is acceptance. I accept that this is where I am today.
Yeah.
I am in a different place. But I do also look for some type of spirituality, which I see as connection to other people. Now, I struggle with connection to other people for a number of issues. But I also like being helpful and listening. I can get my service out by listening to other people, making myself available, I'll do this periodically at work. Something will hit me, and I'll think about somebody I work with and one of their great qualities, especially if it's a great quality that's under the surface, and I'll just send them a quick note. Hey, you've got this great quality, and I see for you that once the shell is off, there is such incredible warmth under there, and I can see where being a mom is a great thing, and being a great wife and the things you talk about. And I just wanted to say, I appreciate those things.
Right.
And I try and do that as much as I can. I'm not looking for anything back, but I can do something nice for somebody else. And I try and focus on the small stuff, because it's easy to like, oh, I'm going to give you $1,000 to make whatever payment. But it's really about, when do you have a stick of gum and you want to give that to somebody? The small things that don't cost much. Those are the hard things. And for me, that's spirituality.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that it is that everyday little stuff. And I think it's a struggle for most people. And again, I come back to say, I probably spend, not probably, I do spend too much time on social media.
As do I.
And, but every once in a while I come by these people who just amplify what you talk about. They do all this small kindness stuff, right? And somebody like I belong to some, local where I live town Facebook pages, some groups called Buy Nothing, right, where you can give away stuff. I give away a lot of stuff on that. But I also see people post on this, hey, it's been a tough month for me. I've just run out of food and I have 3 kids. I really need something. And it's amazing how many people reach out and go, send me a message. I'll drive over and drop some stuff off to you. And I'm going to tell you, it's the other thing. It's mostly women, right?
And the women are so much better than men.
Right. It's mostly women. It's almost never, there's almost never men saying that. And I just look at those people and I just think, wow, what, and that's the stick of gum you just talked about, right? They're willing to get in their car, put a bag of food together for this woman and her family, and drop it off. And I'm a cynical person, as are you, and I could sit there and go, oh yeah, I wonder if she's gaming the system. Like I could go through all of that stuff in my head. And there's people out there who don't do that. They just write to it, right? Yeah, you need food? I'm going to bring you food. And that just gives me some hope in this world. It really does. In this day that we live in, I look at those type of people and I think, man, that's a good person. And that's what I strive to be today. And that's part of my program, right? Is to do better, is to help somebody. We talk about that, help somebody. It's not just in AA, to apply these principles in all of our affairs. So how do I help people out of it? So it's always a learning experience for me. It really is. To me, today I look at it and I go, what am I doing today that sort of is better than I did yesterday? Am I being more involved? Am I not being involved? Am I staying away from stuff because of my selfishness and self-centeredness. And I'm doing a lot of questioning on that today. Like, you know, I don't want to get into it, but, you know, I've been a GSR for a couple of years now, and there's some open positions, and I'm like, that's the next step for me, right? The next step is a head of a committee in my my district, and I'm thinking, do I want to do that? You know, and I'm thinking, it doesn't matter if I want to do it. It's probably what I should do, right? That's the difference. It's probably what I should do.
Yep.
And trust me, I was working on that when I was waiting for you to sign on. The person I'm thinking about stepping up for is actually doing 2 positions. This is the way it works in those groups, right? He's leading 2 different areas. And I was going to reach out to him and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about stepping up, and can you just tell me what it entails? But that's what I do today, which I never did before. I look at myself and try to decide, am I doing enough? Am I doing it for the right reasons? And if not, why am I not doing that? And so that's what this program brings me, even as an agnostic, right? This is the point, right? We're talking about that whole thing. We're talking about Bill and Bill's motivation. Well, you know what? You know why I do all of this stuff? It's because I've spent the last 15 years in AA. I mean that. And around people in recovery in AA who challenge me all the time. They don't come up to me and challenge. They challenge me by their examples. And I look at people and I go, man, that person is knocking it out of the park. Shame on me, right? And again, I start measuring myself, but it just pushes me to do more. So, and again, I talk about it, and we talk about it all the time. Like, I learned all of this stuff in AA. I did. I know.
Oh yeah.
It gets bashed all the time, but I learned it all in AA. So, for me, I need to keep doing that.
This comes to what I think is the best part of Bill in this chapter and in other chapters, although he gets the quote wrong, that he quotes Herbert Spencer around the contempt prior to investigation, and I think that's apocryphal. It exists, the quote. I don't know if it's Herbert Spencer, but it is a great quote, and I use this all the time at work, in my personal life, and it gets you back to, let's think it through. Let me research this before I make a decision. And before sobriety, I had one set of political views and was pretty narrow-minded and just felt I had to defend to be part of the tribe. And I've changed to, I'm going to constantly rethink what is the right thing. I'll give you an example. There's this TikToker that I follow, Dr. Terry Simpson. I love this guy, very science-based. By trade, he does lap band surgeries, so weight loss surgery, but he talks about nutrition and heart disease, and there's lots of things that he has talked about with supplements that have made me stop taking supplements, that it makes sense of you are just making your urine more expensive by taking the supplement. You could take a magnesium supplement, or you could take a handful of pumpkin seeds. And listen to some of that, I'm like, damn it, he's right. And there's some things around making me realize that I'm very lucky with my health care and other people are not. And why am I able to afford Wegovy when somebody else can't? And should we offer health opportunities to more people, not just based on, do you just happen to work for the right company? That gets me thinking. So what he really gets right is, and I think this is where it kind of butts up against, he makes a straw man argument, but later on says, I hate the term do your own research, but do your own research. Be open to other ideas. Even if you don't end up agreeing with the idea, listen to the argument and flesh it out. Then make your decision and see what's right, and listen to a bunch and be open to an argument that's not argumentative. And just don't close yourself off to some of these ideas. And I think that's the best of what Bill brings.
Yeah, no question about it. And that quote, I love that quote too. I have looked into that quote, and there is nowhere in Herbert Spencer's writings ever that that quote is shown. That the only place that quote comes up for him is in the big book. So it probably was, not applied. I'm not sure what the word is to Herbert Spencer correctly, but still a great quote, and I use it all the time too. And what that means to me is just like you said, I have to be open-minded, right? I have to be open-minded, and yeah, maybe do some research on my own, but also be open-minded to the research that other people have done in order for me to before I do. And what that means also is that I have to be open-minded to change. Right, just like you talked about there. So I can't be so cut off in my life that I can only believe this is the way, this is the only way, and this is the way it'll always be. That I don't live that way anymore. For the most part, I don't live that way anymore. And I'll just say this about healthcare. Just again, not to go down a rabbit hole. I didn't even get lucky because of the company I worked for. I got lucky because who I married. Think about that. Right? I mean, I got lucky for my health care because who I married, who worked for a wealthy suburb here in Connecticut, a town employee, and had absolutely fantastic health care coverage. Had nothing to do with me.
Yep.
So, so yeah, I mean, is that fair? Yeah, I made out, but I don't think it's fair. So anyway, but today I think about... Today, I'm open-minded. Like, that's what we talked about. And even with agnostics, and this is the whole point. Like, today I identify as an agnostic, which doesn't mean when I die, I will be an agnostic, right? I mean that honestly. Like, I don't know what that's going to mean to me somewhere down the road. And I will share this, too, before we go off, because I shared this Friday night, is one of my old bosses is still in the business. I've been in the business of selling stuff for 30 years. And one of my old boss, same age as me, he was my boss for about, I don't know, maybe almost 10 years. Not quite, probably 8 years. But he lives down in Texas, and his wife had a stroke. And I still see him at conferences and stuff. And he sent out this thing on Facebook with Facebook friends that he's going to, their wedding anniversary is on Wednesday, their 47th wedding anniversary on Wednesday. Wow. So she had a stroke, and he's taking care of her. I think it was a fairly bad stroke. He's taking care of her. So he asked all of his friends to pray for her full recovery, and he's a big Christian, Southern Christian guy. Pray for her at 7 o'clock on Wednesday because he'll be praying with her. So he's trying to get this whole prayer thing. And I don't do a lot of that kind of stuff, but I felt moved enough to tell him, hey, I'm going to be praying for you in Connecticut. I just want to make sure my time's right. So that means I pray at 8 o'clock because he's an hour, right? So that I wanted to be part of that group. Yes. I wanted to be praying at the same time as everybody else was praying for this woman. Do I believe it's going to help? No, I don't. I don't believe it's going to do a thing. But I'm willing to pray, and maybe there'll be something, I don't know. Maybe this is my point. Maybe there'll be a miracle that'll happen and she'll get full recovery and people will say this is fantastic. And then I'll have to rethink my position that maybe I had something to do with that by praying to this God that I don't believe in. So I am open to, this is my point. I'm open to doing that. I'm open to spending 10 minutes on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock on my knees if I am. I actually don't know where I'm going to be. I may be at a meeting. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but to do it and pray with these people for this woman's recovery and because I like this guy. He was the best boss I ever had. That, to me, is how different I am than I was years ago, that I'm willing to do stuff like that, even though it's not what I do on a regular basis today. That's what this program has given me. That's what Bill's writings has given me today.
I don't think there's a better way to end it. I've got lots of things I could say, but none of them will be as profound as that. So would love to hear from you. Give me your thoughts. If you're super religious, matt@soberfriendspod.com. I'd love to hear this stuff. If you're not, email. If you're in the middle, if you question, if you're pissed, if you're happy, I love to hear that stuff. You can push against these ideas. This is a back and forth, and we just want to make sure that we're reaching you such a way that you're on the right path to sobriety. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah, you too, Matt.
We'll see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.